Hello everyone. In this video I am going to explain CSS box sizing. And this box sizing in CSS, this CSS property, I believe is really underrated. And in this video we are going to explain it, and we will see that it can actually help us, and understanding this CSS box sizing could be helpful in so many circumstances. So let's start with an example. Imagine that we have for example, a div with a class of container here, as you can see, and it has some items inside this, just 5 div here, a very simple HTML code. And inside our CSS section, well, ignoring that margin and 0, because I want everything to have a 0 margin and padding 0, and I want to control the margin and padding myself, not the browser, because browser usually applies some margin and padding to some elements, and I don't want that. And ignoring that, the container has just a background color and a border, so that you can see the container area, and a padding and a margin. And also each item inside this container has a display inline block, so that's why the items are next to each other, not they are not in separate line, because if you comment that out, so that's what happens. So let's undo that, and they have a width and a height, and also another background and border margin padding. So this background and border is just for you to see them better. So this is the code that we are going to start with, a simple HTML code, and we want to understand box sizing and what box sizing is. Well, box sizing has two values, and it's used for developers in order to determine what do we mean by width and height. In fact, as you can see here, I have applied a height of 100 pixels and a width of 250 pixels. And what happens is, when you come here and hit inspect element on this element, inside our computed section, we can see that this width and also this width and height is applied. And inside our computed section, this is where I mean what do we mean by width and height. You can see it's telling us here that the width is the element itself has a 250 pixel width and a 100 pixel height, and it has a 20 pixel padding around it, a 2 pixel border around it, and a 10 pixel of margin. So what we end up with is actually bigger than 250 pixel width. The total generated width is actually bigger than 250, because we have extra padding. So the width has been increased from 250 to 270, and with that 2 and 272. And we do not consider margin as a part of the element in my mind, because margin is the external space. The margin is actually a space of the element with the area around it. So that's why I do not consider this margin as a width. So that I believe that our width is not actually 250 pixels. Our width is actually 272 pixels. That's what I believe. Actually, that's what box sizing is. We have two values for box sizing. One value is border box, and the default value is content box. Well, so actually, when we haven't specified any border box, well, the default value for border box is on content box, box sizing. And when the box sizing is on content box, it means that, hey browser, when we say width 250 pixels, we mean the width of the element itself, without the padding, without the border. And that's what we have here and the default behavior. But if we go ahead and set the box sizing to border box, Now the story is different, and we hit refresh. We may think that everything went a little smaller, and actually went a little small, because now the box sizing is actually on border box. We have changed the box sizing, and when we go inside our computed section, we can see that the element itself is now 206 pixel, and with 20 of that and 2 pixel, and now we have something else here. The result, the output is different now. You may think that the math is wrong, because you say, hey, wait a minute, 206, 20, so that's 226. With that 228. What happened to that 2? Well, you need to understand there's 2 pixels from to left when we are computing the width, and 2 pixels to the right. So the border is actually 4 pixel width, so 4 pixel for the border, and 206. So that's when we add, we actually end up with 250, and it's exactly okay. So now that we understand this box sizing, so now we know what do we mean by box sizing in CSS. And now that you understand it, let's tell you something and finish this video. Well, the thing is, usually you have seen that so many developers, they put this box sizing border box or inside their star selector, because they want to say, hey browser, from now on, whenever, for everything that I use this border box for box sizing, because that's what I mean by width and height. And this is something that not only me, but so many other developers I have seen that use this box sizing border box. So when we come back here, refresh, everything is okay. And there's another point here that we need to understand. Well, when we say star box sizing, well, everything is great, everything's work fine, but there's a minor improvement on this star selector, and it's that where we start to use after and before in CSS. If you do not know, there are some pseudo elements in CSS, well, that we can create some kind of pseudo elements with CSS with after and before. But this selector that we have, well, it sets the box sizing of everything to border box, but not after and before. So what happens is, so this is something as well, usually they select, this after and before also inside the box sizing. Also, there's something that you can add to your project, to this thing that we have. So this, for this star selector, we can also apply that margin and padding for them as well. So we can actually, I forgot there's a semicolon. We can select the before and after as well for everything, and also we can put the star behind that if we want to. So here it is. We can come back here, hit refresh, and sure enough, everything now has that star selector. That star selector that we applied has that box sizing for everything, and you can see inside our CSS properties. And so this is it. Hope you understood this box sizing, and hope to see you in my other videos.